Welcome to our vigil to honor the life and legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsberg. And in her honor, let's honor her last words. It is my fervent wish that I will not be replaced until the new president is installed. It is my fervent wish that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed. We are here to honor her last words. We are here to honor her life. And we are here to work like hell to make sure our democracy is saved. We have a really good lineup of people here to talk about some of the things that Ruth Bader Ginsberg did in her illustrious career. And we also have Susan Phillips, who's the Reverend of the First Presbyterian Church, who's going to give us a few words of comfort.
Good evening. We are going to have to be a lot more determined than that was if we are going to follow Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's example. Yes? All right. My name is Susan Phillips. I pastor First Presbyterian Church on the other side of this building. I'm a fairly new resident of this area, and I welcome you to this space. One of the traditions of my church in recent years is to do what's called a land acknowledgement. So, tonight, as we gather here in Illinois, I want to remind everyone that this land has been the home for centuries of the Kickapoo, the Miami, the Peoria, the Potawatomi, the Sakamasquaki, and the Oceti-Sakowin Sioux, waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. This is the vision that we have carried for eons. And as I tried to figure out what it is that any of us might need to hear tonight, the words of the Justice herself came to me. So I share these with you. My heritage as a Jew and my occupation as a judge fit together symmetrically. The demand for justice runs through the entirety of Jewish history and Jewish traditions. I take pride in and draw strength from my heritage, as signs in my chambers attest. A large silver mezuzah on my doorpost. On 3 walls, the artist's renditions of Hebrew letters. Zedek, Zedek, Terdaf, justice, justice shall you pursue. As a pastor of a Christian church, as a follower of Jesus, we know that that which is legal is not necessarily just. And so did Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She spent her career seeking justice through the courts. I would bless you with strength for the work God dreams for us. I would bless you courage to build the beloved community. And I would bless you with love that outshines hostility, disdain, and disregard. May her life, may her memory be a blessing. And may we share that blessing with all as we seek justice for the whole community. Amen? Amen. Yes?
As Reverend Phillips just said, this is the High Holy Day season for the Jewish community. There's a tradition that if one passes away at the eve of the New Year, Rosh Hashanah, that person is a tzaddik. She quoted Amos, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Righteousness, justice, justice shall you pursue. Tzedek also means righteousness, and a tzedek, a person who is a tzedek, is a righteous person. And so we gather tonight to honor the memory of a recently departed righteous person. Now, during the Jewish High Holy Days, we blow the ram's horn. It is called the shofar, and it is brought to mind because of the incident of Abraham, Isaac, and the ram caught in the thicket by its horn. And so I would like, in her honor, to play the notes that are played on the shofar during the High Holy Days.
just in these past few months. So I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank Deb Bandy and all of those who organized this candlelight vigil in honor of a life well lived. We come together for many different reasons, and I think that all of us have different reasons for being here. We come together to mourn, we come together to celebrate, and we come together to move forward together to save our nation and save our democracy. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsberg was a legal, cultural, and feminist icon who was always a tireless and resolute champion of justice. Real justice, and not the mush that we see all too often today from the halls of our nation, and most recently. It seems like every time there is an opportunity to use our legal system to do what's right and what's just and fair and going to be moving for all of our citizens, they always do the opposite. And as I heard said earlier, just because something is legal does not mean it's fair, does not mean it's just. From beginning to end, Justice Ginsburg was concerned about us. She was concerned about the nation. She was concerned about our democracy. She knew all too well what was at stake and what a Supreme Court appointment meant. It's much more than a lifetime appointment to the bench, but more precisely, a change in the direction of our country and a rollback of those hard-fought judicial success stories that led us and continue to lead us to a more perfect union. With all that was on her mind and fighting, a cancer that was consuming her and she knew would take her away from her loved ones soon. And as she transitioned with very little strength, she dictated these words to her granddaughter. My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed. She knew what that meant. She knew how important it was. And she wanted the world to know that even as she was transitioning and leaving her family, she still had us. She still had this country. She still had our democracy most on her mind. And she, I can just imagine that she took her last strength, her last breath, her last energy in order to repeat those words. My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed. So those of us that are gathered here, our friends, family, and neighbors, have little control over how and when that appointment will be made. What we can do, though, is we can call, we can text, we can write our representatives to make our wishes known. However, we will not be in the room when that decision is made. But what we can do, what we should do to make this vigil meaningful and have a lasting impact and not just another downtown Springfield gathering, is with our strength, we can marshal those friends, relatives, and neighbors to vote and encourage others to vote, so we will know with certainty the thought process of the next Supreme Court appointment. We must vote like our lives and the lives of our children and grandchildren depend on it, because it really does. It seems like with every election, we hear people utter those words, but I don't think it has ever been more important and more heartfelt and more profound than what in 2020 in downtown Springfield. We have to vote like this, like our lives depend on it, because it really does. I don't believe that our democracy can withstand another Trump appointment to the Supreme Court. With what that will look like, the makeup of the Supreme Court will look like, I don't know. And then to think that there's a possibility of another to come. We know what we must do as we leave here And I want us all to walk away with the same commitment with which we came. A commitment to honor the life and legacy of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg by leaving here committed that we will not only march to the polls like we marched here to vote, we will take others with us. We will talk to others about it.
Nancy Dirksen Londrigan.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you all for organizing this. 2020 has been a year, hasn't it? Yeah. And I know our world has been rocked over and over again. We just lost, before we lost Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we lost two major civil rights icons, Representatives Elijah Cummings and Representative John Lewis. Justice Ginsburg was a voice of a generation after generation. She was a voice of a gender. She believed in equality, she believed in justice, and she fought for the things she believed in, and she led so other people would follow her. You know, I knew logically that she wasn't going to live forever, that she had been fighting so hard, but I have to tell you, there was a real piece of me who believed she was just superhuman enough to outlive the rest of us. I really thought she might just plank on forever. The reality is that with her gone, we have lost another voice of reason, and we have lost a vote to protect the Affordable Care Act. It comes before the court on November 10th, 1 week after Election Day. And we have an opportunity here in Central Illinois to make sure that we make our voices heard. Because if they overturn the Affordable Care Act and all the essential health benefits that go along with it, and take away protections for people with pre-existing conditions, and put the caps back on, and force women back into the dark ages where the simple act of becoming a mother gives us a pre-existing condition. If they can overturn that, and they do, we better make sure that we have elected leaders who are going to legislate for our health care, to protect our care. And we certainly don't have that in Rodney Davis, who has voted at least, thank you.
Here tonight. This is an important night, and we're certainly doing the right thing and causing what I call good trouble. As has been said, my name is Catherine Harris, and I've served on Planned Parenthood's board, Planned Parenthood Illinois Action Board. I was the president at one time of the local Planned Parenthood affiliate, and currently I am an escort at Planned Parenthood on Thursdays. And my affiliation with Planned Parenthood began as a patient, and that was over. I have a 52-year-old daughter, and I think I went to Planned Parenthood when she was 1 year old. I guess I should have gone to Planned Parenthood before. But nevertheless, on behalf of Planned Parenthood Illinois Action, I want to express our profound sorrow at the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We extend our deepest condolences to the Justice's family, colleagues, and friends, and that would be us. And to those who are gathered here, and to those who are all across the country, we share your grief. In just a few minutes, it would be difficult to summarize the enormous impact that Justice Ginsburg's service to our country has made on each and every one of us. She defended our voting rights. She wrote a landmark opinion affording disability rights. She was a fierce advocate for gender equality. She stood up for LGBTQ rights and marriage equality. And of course, she was a leader in protecting reproductive rights, including the right to have a safe and legal abortion. I can say it no better than Justice Ginsburg. There's something central to a woman's life, to her dignity. It is a decision that she must make for herself. And when government controls that decision for her, she is being treated as less than a fully adult human responsible for her own choices.
The COVID, John Lewis, now the justice. I work for Dick Durbin. He's going to be in Washington on that committee. He's on the Judiciary Committee. And he's going to be there, hopefully, when President Biden gets to appoint the Supreme Court Justice. And I can let you know that both Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth are going to make sure that they do everything humanly possible to stop Mitch McConnell and Donald from making an appointment before this election. Selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. March 2016, Mitch McConnell. And people in Washington that are elected officials, or Springfield, or state capitals all across the country wonder what gives politics a bad name. Mitch McConnell does. He takes our young people and says it's not worth fighting for. Well, the young people that are here, it's more worth fighting for today than any time in our lives. And we've got to join the fight. Betsy Londrigan's right, Doris Turner's right. We got 45 days. 45 days until Election Day. And I know when my daughter told me last night at a dinner table that the justice had died, it sort of took the air out. I was talking to her and her husband, Kevin McGuire, who's running for the county board in Springfield, and it just sort of took my breath away. And I had to think about it. And I thought about it last night, and I thought about it today, and what I'm going to do for the next 45 days, I'm going to dedicate my life in public service and for this election, and I want you to join me in making sure we win on November 3rd in Ruth's honor and the justice's honor. Will you join me doing that? Yes. Are you going to help all these people that are out here? Yes. We can send a message that will wake up the echoes of the world. Yes. But we got to stay together, we got to fight, and most importantly, we got to win. Thank you.
A person of color, impoverished, possibly lazy, who wants to defraud systems and abuse benefits. Our immigrant communities hear this news and they fall into sheer despair. Our families may not know that this rule doesn't apply to them if they have a visa or a green card, or if they're asylum seekers, refugees, special juvenile visa holders, US citizens, and so on. So when the panic of the pandemic sets, people start to get sick and families lose the low wages they were earning prior to the pandemic. We encounter kids at home without food, pregnant women without checkups, women and men without jobs, with no way to pay for medicine, utilities, or rent. And the fear our communities experience is so pervasive, it prevents them from applying for any type of assistance, and many times kids go hungry. In March of this year, Zion, the Springfield Immigrant Advocacy Network, began to deliver meals, diapers, and basic necessities out of the blue to over 300 people every week, and we had never done that. We had to organize quickly to diminish the harm caused. A government that engineers this type of systemic exclusion and encourages hatred towards people of color is a government that has changed the idea of what it means to be human, what it means for a person to have inherent dignity and the right to exist. We need to continue to fight systems where the supremacy of whiteness is irrefutable and anti-immigrant policies and xenophobic sentiments lead the appointment of hundreds of administrative immigrant judges that hear refugee and asylum cases every week. And that is what Trump has done. RBG understood the contributions and talents immigrants bring to communities. She did so from a personal level. And during a speech at a naturalization ceremony, she stated that, quote, "As testament to our nation's promise, the daughter and granddaughter of immigrants sits on the highest court of the land," unquote. She asked, what is the difference between a bookkeeper in New York City's garment district and a Supreme Court justice? The answer, one generation. Let's continue to fight for the rights of immigrants so we can imagine a country where there are no lost generations of children and people of color whose only desire is to raise their families free from war, famine, fear, and poverty. Thank you.
Bader Ginsberg. One of the other things that I learned today is that RBG always got right back to work following a loss, even the loss of her husband Marty. So many of us today are in mourning. I know I was up most of the night at 4 a.m. I was watching AOC's Instagram Live. At 5 a.m. I was donating to Betsy. I was on the phone with a friend last night crying. I was out running errands for Zion today. You know, we're in our feelings, and I think it's okay and it's good to be in our feelings because that's the healthy thing, right? We've got to mourn, and we have a lot of work to do, and we have a memory that we have to honor here and keep alive. I've been organizing for the better part of a decade, and have spent the Trump administration shoulder to shoulder with people like Veronica and other organizers in Springfield and across the country as we fight for survival for our communities. From the air that we breathe, to our reproductive rights, to LGBT rights, and the rights of workers, it's all up for grabs. And no one feels this more than those living at the margins of our society and those in the shadows. As COVID ramped up and our lives changed, Zion went into high gear doing direct service. For the first time, we were providing rental assistance, diapers, and food. I was one of the people and have been one of the people going door to door. And I have a story that I'm going to share with you, because I think sometimes as we think about
the spirit of prayer. Oh God, eternal heart, once again we have gathered on the street, holding a feeble light in the darkness. We have gathered time and time again, vigils after extreme violence in schools and synagogues and churches. We have gathered after black men and women have been killed in the streets. It's been an ugly time, but we continue to gather, to hope and to pray and to find strength in the light that each one of us carries. Let us be reminded that Albert Schweitzer once said, sometimes our own light goes out, but is rekindled from another source. Last night, a great light went out. When I heard that, when you heard that, perhaps like me, you were horrified, you were afraid, you wondered what next. But I knew that we could not pause there. We had to work our way through our grief, through despair, and remember that people like Ruth Bader Ginsberg, people like Elijah Cummings, like others whom we have mourned in their passing. They did not spring into being complete, powerful beings, but they became who they were, supported by families and friends who pushed them, nurtured them, nudged them, until they claimed their own power. And so the memory of Ruth Bader Ginsberg, may it be a blessing, but may it also be an inspiration. May it bring us comfort that we too may find connections with each other. May we too find courage to stand up against injustice. May we too find power in this community with other communities, and together join our lights, our work, our votes to rebuild this democracy and rescue it. Amen and blessed be.
She said, I wish there was a way that I could wave a magic wand and put us back when people were respectful of each other, and that the Congress was working for the good of the country and not just going along party lines. Someday there will be a great people, great elected representatives who will say, enough of this nonsense. Let's be the kind of legislature that the United States should have. I hope that day will come when I am still alive. She said that in 2017. And unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to see that dream fulfilled. I hope I do. I hope I do. I hope you do. I think it's important that we remember that our vote is important. The LGBT community needs to be loved and supported. Black lives really matter. Our disabled population, they're members of our community. Integral members of our community. Women and their choices, all of their choices, count and need to be honored. Immigrants deserve fair, humane services and advocacy. Our environment is critical. Healthcare is desperately needed and not a luxury for anyone. The poor, they are part of our national treasure. Our vote is our right. It is our voice. It is our magic wand. You all have one. You can make Ruth Bader Ginsberg's dream come true. You can make her wish a reality. We talk about 45 days. Well, you know what? You don't have to wait 45 days. In 5 days. 5 days. You can march downtown. You can post your vote. You can say what you want. You can wave that magic wand. So, please, don't wait. Vote early. Encourage other people. Make a plan. Go with a friend. Do whatever you have to. Not just at the national level, although we all know how important that is. But at the local level, the county level, the state level, we have lots of wishes to make come true. So gather those wands and let's get busy.